Good evening and welcome to Moving Forward, a production of the Bay and Grantstown Advancement Association. The primary objective of this program is to identify obstacles in the way of the forward movement of our wonderful nation. And with the help of all of you, particularly those in studio from time to time, we seek to address these obstacles with a view to reducing, if not completely eliminating them. And so sit back and relax. We've got a fantastic show for you this evening, and we are grateful that you have taken time to be with us. One of our obstacles, and has been for many years, is the fight to maintain and in fact promote our own culture. We seem to be bombarded with the cultures of others, other nations, other peoples around us, and sometimes we seem very susceptible to falling for those cultures. Could be that we don't have the full appreciation for our own culture. Perhaps we lack self-confidence to really fully understand what we have. And so we will grab on to anything that's floating by. Well, several weeks ago, we had as our guests a group of young cultural giants. We talked about culture in general, but we also talked about the mission that they were about to embark upon, which was to represent and promote the Bahamas at the New Orleans Jazz Festival, which was held, I think, in May of this year. And if you watched that program, you know it was a fantastic program. And we secured their commitment to return to the program and to share with you their experience, which I know was wonderful. Because as I said in the last program, I had the privilege of accompanying Freddie and those in 2005 to the festival, and it's an experience that I will never forget. I couldn't go this time, but I'm gonna look forward to going next year. And so, ladies and gentlemen, back with us is a larger contingent than we had the last time. So large that we will have to do it in 2 segments. But they brought a number of the artists and musicians and performers who made up that contingent, and they all have their story to tell. And so we're going to listen this evening to that story. And so it is my profound pleasure and great delight to introduce on my right, Vola the Great Francis. That's Percy, Vola the Great Francis. On his right, with the preacher look, with the preacher look,
amen,
is Raphael Funky Nassau Munnings. And to his right is the great and inimitable Fred Munnings. Nobody could imitate Fred Munnings. And so we are delighted to have you back with us. You were with us just before the trip. Now you're back. Tell us, after you've said hello, of course, to the audience, tell us about that trip. And I mean, I'm sitting back in awe because I know I'm going to be entertained and impressed with your experience.
You know, Brother Moss, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. You know, we have been going to New Orleans for a number of times, perhaps about 25 years now. But this particular mission on the 50th anniversary of the Jazz and Heritage Festival was very special. And particularly special to me, as representing as the king of the Junkanoo of the Bahamas. And of course, the special opportunity to be highlighted with the Jazz and Heritage Festival from an international perspective. All of the other missions that we went on, we were basically just sort of a representation, but this particular one was very, very important for me, for us, and for the Bahamas. And of course, the Ministry of Tourism, in their quest to promote the Bahamas, thought it best to put their money where their mouth is in supporting such an event. And to me, it was a gallant opportunity.
Ray?
Well, that's a very good introduction, Willa. But we have, for me, my experience in New Orleans started in 1982, and that's quite a way back. And then we had we went from 82 until about maybe 94, I think it was. And at that time, after going for so many years, consistently, the mayor of New Orleans presented us with the key to the city, which of course I have very proudly displayed on my wall. And this time was very special because I was able to introduce Raphael II along with me on stage. So to me, that is very special. Not only that, but to give him his first shot at the international stage. And of course, later on in the program, when he's here, he can say for himself his experience. But my experience this time, and we've always really took some of the top musicians. We started out originally with, they weren't called Bahamian then, they were called High Voltage. High Voltage was the band that we started in '82 with. And of course, we tore up the place then, and almost 30 plus years later, we tore it up again with the band. This time was called the Bahamas Revue Band. And of course, Dion Turnquist will have a chance to explain his experience. But to sum it up real quickly for now, is that my experience this time, it has changed a little bit because the audience were a little further away from us, meaning last time they were right in front of the stage, so you could really feel the people and get off from their emotions. But this time they were a little further back, and so you had to project a little further. But they went all the way back. As a matter of fact, it has been estimated between the 2 weekends that they had 475,000 people present in the fairgrounds or the festival grounds. So for now, like I said, that would be my introduction. And again, thank you to all the people that made it possible, because we came there, and like I said, there's not just we represented the stage performance. Nehemiah Hield, of course, was one of the featured artists. Wendi and Dyson Knight were the other featured artists, along with myself, and we introduced Raffy to the big stage in New Orleans. So I was very grateful to Fred and the other committee members, Nadir, Hassan, and of course the Ministry of Tourism for making that opportunity possible. Now from here, the world is the next stop as far as performance for me. And so, again, thank you for the last show. I had a wonderful time there. And so this time we're talking about live and on stage with the performers and, of course, all the Junkanoo artists, which numbered in about 26 or 27, Vola, in total, I mean, the Junkanoo players. So that is my introduction, and let's go.
Well, let's hear from Fred. Fred is, I wouldn't say Fred is the mayor of New Orleans. He's the assistant mayor of New Orleans. Fred, tell us your...
Reverend Dr. C.B. Moss, it's always a pleasure for me to come and be with you because you're always talking about things positive when we talk about the development of our country. And as you invited us to come back from the first time we appeared before we went to the anniversary concert, we are proud to come back and tell the nation and the world the tremendous success, as my colleagues have already articulated, so I wouldn't regurgitate what they have said, simply to say that I believe that this was a historic opportunity for us. It was the 50th anniversary of the festival, first of all. As I predicted, it's probably going to be one of the biggest musical events of the 2019 calendar. There's no question about that. Ray already told you about the numbers, but the impact of the presentations that were just projected all over the world via social media, via the networks, et cetera, et cetera. I can only tell you my experience from what I heard while I was there from the organizers.
But you, of course, have some video clips.
There's no question. I think
that we'll be showing.
You'll superimpose some of it to show the impact, to show the numbers.
See, your articulation will not do justice.
No, it would not.
Our viewers need to see it for themselves.
The way the people reacted.
That's right.
And the impression that they had. And again, I can tell you that the organizers that I spoke with said to me personally that the Bahamas was the most impactful nation at the festival during those 2 weekends.
Could you repeat that for our audience?
That the Bahamas presentation overall was the most impactful nation, because they invited artists from all over the world.
Right. But we need to continue to hear that.
impact of
Our
the
people
Bahamas.
See, somehow I don't think they fully grasp
Junkanoo affected everybody within the area that that we performed in.
And if you
this
say
was a
that,
vast area.
if you say that often enough,
Yes.
maybe the Bahamian
Maybe
people
they
will
will get
begin to
but-
grasp it and understand. Somehow they don't feel that I know what you're saying is true.
I am sure that the Honorable Minister of Tourism got the same kind of reaction that we got. He was there. And so was his first assistant, Clay Saunders, that they all experienced it. And their comments to me that every penny that the ministry spent to promote this event and to support this event was worth it and much, much more for the impact that the Bahamas got from our presentation. The only problem we have, CB, and this was also said to me by some of the people who experienced it, Mr. Munnings, when I come to the Bahamas, I cannot see this.
There you go.
That was the thing that reverberated in my mind, because they said, you know, we come to the Bahamas regularly. One lady said to me after the cultural performance, I've been going to the Bahamas for 30 years. I remember back in the day these kinds of activities, but not today. What has happened? So my question to the Ministry of Tourism, my question to the Hotel Employers Association, my question to the hospitality industry, what happened? Why have we stopped doing the thing that make us the most unique nation on the planet? That is the question. And so as a result of New Orleans, hopefully the message will get across when we show these short clips that you are giving us the pleasure. And thank you once again, Reverend Moss, because you are one of the only people who took it upon yourself individually to make sure that we were exposed before we left, and when we returned, you invited us to come back. I want to thank you for that.
Well, I'm so glad you came back, of course, Freddie. My only disappointment is I'm the only one on the set without a hat.
Well, you know, maybe we could fix that.
Gotta bring you one.
Yeah, you know, I feel
Well, I'm
naked.
wearing a special cap,
I feel
and
a
we'll
little-
talk about that
I
later.
feel
Let
a-
Ray tell us why I'm wearing this particular hat.
I feel a
purposely
little
wore
naked.
it.
So
for
the
that
next
reason.
time you
Yeah.
come, I want to look like you.
No question about that.
You'll look like $1 million. I want to
And
look
then
like you.
you look like an entertainer. I mean, you know.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
But you know, Freddie hit the nail on the head, and that is, it was in my mind when I first came into the studio too as well, is that yes, we do all of these things abroad, and but when the people come to the Bahamas, there's this difficulty.
Where can you find
Where is it? I mean, where is the product? You know, and so we have to now start to work home base now to see what it is that whatever we do here, right, that will be seen when we take it away, that you can come back and see the same product here. And so I think that has been our dilemma over the many years, about 25 years or more now. Entertainment seems to have taken a dive. And so, yes, we do need to look at this very, very carefully, the way we promote the Bahamas. And because if I sell it over there and you come here and you can't see it, then that's a problem.
You see,
know? Yeah.
entertainment has taken a dive, not, in my opinion, because there's anything deficient with the entertainment. No. Here's how I think it. You remember last time you all were here, I made a statement. We in the Bahamas seem to spend most of our time and resources chasing the tourists,
That was a profound statement.
chasing the visit instead of attracting them.
There it is.
You see, and so I think
And that is the point that I'm
That's the point.
this is not a negative message.
No.
This is a very positive message to our entertainers, to our hoteliers, to our Ministry
To
of
the government.
Tourism, and to the country itself.
Yes. Stop
because,
chasing.
as Vola said, you know, when we go abroad and we present the kind of presentation these, your word, young artists, and I accept that.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, sir.
And you were looking at Wola and Ray when you said, but you really wasn't looking at me. But these young artists present to the world, and then the world react so positively. That's like an advertiser.
Yes.
So you know if you had that kind of advertiser, what the main course should be like. But when they get to the main course, they can't find what we presented abroad. That is false advertisement, first of all.
And then the sad thing about it is the negative focus is on the entertainment, as if that's
As
the
if
problem.
we have fallen down.
Exactly.
Despite the fact
right.
that we do not have the availability and the platforms and the showcases to present ourselves. When we go abroad, my brother,
Yeah.
trust me.
Yeah.
I see, words cannot tell you how proud I was. And for this particular event, I was pretty much behind the scene. But the artists, all of them, every single
We've
one,
got international
dancers,
caliber.
singers, Junkanoo artists, everybody, they were all, I call them Bahamian ambassadors. The way they conducted themselves and the way they presented themselves representing our country.
May I give a word of advice and recommendation to the Ministry of Tourism, the minister, and indeed the government? Rather than us sending these large delegations all over the world, trying to chase behind these tourists.
Yes.
You know, you're in Brazil, you're in Qatar, you're in Japan, you're in China, you're in chasing behind the tourists.
Yeah.
Take some of that money, invest it in our product.
Amen.
And make the product so attractive
That
that
they
they
will
would
come
be
here.
running to
There you
us.
go. That's the key.
Good advice?
Yes.
And I trust they follow it. So Ray, you were talking, Fred was talking about the cap. What about that cap?
The cap?
No, this cap,
This
this
cap
cap.
that he has, yeah. Well, that says, I'm sure later you can get a close-up of it. It says Funky Nassau.
Oh yes.
Now, once you mention those two words, that reverberates around the entire globe.
Yes.
And has done so for the last 49 years. 2020 will make it 50 years
Wow.
of being in that position. It started off after 3 months of distribution in the United States, covering all of the top trade magazines, which are Billboard, Cashbox, Record World. These are, quote unquote, the Bible of the music industry. And to get on those charts, which we started on the R&B, rhythm and blues chart, and after a while, which is the black music and the black charts, it crossed over to the pop, which is top 100 Billboard charts, Billboard, Record World, and Cashbox at the time. I don't think the other two now exist, but Billboard still stands. And that song started off as number 94 on the charts, and it moved from number 94 up to number 15 on the pop 100, the top pop chart, and on the R&B charts, it moved to number 7. So to be in that, and then you look at those who were number 1 through 7, you've got people like Aretha Franklin, you've got all of the top.
So the cap then is in commemoration of that.
The 2020 will be 50 years of Funky Nassau being in existence and being on the not only the Bahamian market but the world market.
So you will get my cap then,
Oh, no
but
question.
you have to let out the back because my head bigger than
You know, it's a one size fit all.
one size fit all. But
So,
you know, guys.
It's expandable.
Oh, it's expandable.
But not just the caps. We'll have all of the paraphernalia, the T-shirts, mugs, you name it, because that part of the industry is almost as big or bigger than the record sales. As you know now,
Yes, of course.
the records are only
It's the
99
memorabilia.
cents.
That's right.
It's like having the 99-cent breakfast. You go online and order one record at a time instead of buying the whole CD.
Yes.
And so you got to have that part of your arsenal ready
But of
for
course.
once you put the song out.
Well,
I just want to take this opportunity to congratulate Raphael and Funky Nassau,
The beginning of the end.
the 1 million seller record. I don't think we have been able to accomplish that since that, eh?
Oh, much. Yes, of course. But
have?
yeah, well, what it is, see, when you say 1 million in sales, 1 million happened from March of 1971 to July. In 3 months, it sold 1 million copies. So from 50 years ago compared to now, you
Yes,
can
of
imagine
course.
what
Yes.
the
Yeah,
numbers
of
are.
course.
The numbers are
So you
astronomical.
just say 1 million sellers.
Yeah,
we always refer
Well,
to
yeah,
it.
because that was the
refer
first.
to it
Yes,
as a
that's-
million
That was the
seller.
first
Well,
official.
you know.
But of course, Bahamian have done very, very well, and Johnny Kemp, T-Connection, quite a few other Bahamians that normally don't even realize that they are Bahamian. Of course, if you add Lenny Kravitz in the mix, but that's a whole other arena. But Funky Nassau was the first official million seller,
Certified.
even before Bob Marley. We came out in 71 in the U.S. Bob Marley didn't come out until 75.
Well, guys, I am so grateful that you brought this for me as a gift. Now, all of you have promised to autograph it for me. It's the Jazz Festival, 2019 Jazz Festival. They say the Bible of the Jazz Festival. And tell us about this.
Well, what that is actually a program that will tell the audience or those who are participating in the festival all the various activities, all the various artists that are performing, and there was more than, if you look through that, you will see more than 600 different artists performing over the 2-weekend period. It also has little stories and tidbits about the history of the festival, et cetera, et cetera. So it gives you a pretty good overview of the magnitude of the present, and the Bahamas is prominently placed in that into perpetuity. So the bottom line is, as I said earlier, this was a historic, world-class event.
Who were some of the artists?
For the Bahamas, particularly. Well, they had artists, great artists like Gladys Knight followed the Bahamas presentation while we were there.
Boy, she was in trouble.
All right?
She was in trouble.
So you had people like her, you had Earth, Wind and Fire, you had Carlos Santana, you had Shaka Khan. These are just the world-class.
You had
Diana
Ross,
Ross,
yeah.
you had
Yeah.
the Neville Brothers, and the list, but you could read off some of the names, CB, when you read down the list of artists from literally all over the world. But the most important aspect of this whole experience for me, CB, I want to get back to this point. When those Bahamian artists hit the arena with Junkanoo, everybody within the environs of Junkanoo reacted.
So it was,
It was a magnitude of drawing them to the Junkanoo experience.
So we were
And
then
they paraded throughout a certain area of the festival site.
And so we were sorry then for Mavis Staples and Gladys Knight.
They were in trouble.
Yeah, they were in trouble.
They were in trouble when they followed
once
us.
the Bahamians arrived, then they were all in trouble. And we loved them,
Oh, we love them.
The biggest mistake you could make is to put Junkanoo on first.
Yeah.
Well, I hope, we're in the dressing room just before, after we came off. And of course, Gladys was following us. And I was wondering, why she's taking so long to come on.
But stage.
I never get a chance to ask her, but it was at least half an hour or more.
To let the stage
To allow
Let
the
the-
flavor to dissipate.
Because
see, bottom line though, CB, and seriously,
she kept peeping out the dressing room everywhere. And we were, because our trailer was right
just
next to our trailer.
Here's what I'm doing. I love her. Always did. I'm going to send a little note.
Incredible artist.
I'm going to send a little note of apology. I say, I'm so sorry you had to follow these fellas.
But if you remember, and I want to go back to this because it's very, my mission, particularly in this particular event, was to show the importance of the entertainment to the tourism product, and how we can use it effectively to sell the Bahamas, and there's no other nation on the planet that could present the kind of entertainment that we present because of the uniqueness of what we have. Junkanoo is totally unique when you look at all of the other nations. And right after I came back from New Orleans, I had the opportunity to go to Beijing, China, where it happened again. When we had a situation where even without Junkanoo, there were some Brazilians in one of the concerts that we used. And the young artist, Julian Believe, when he put on the whole Junkanoo music, even though it was only via tracks and the rhythm section we had, all of the Brazilians joined the stage with him. And saying the impact is just incredible no matter where you present this unique form of culture. And then when Ray and Raffy and Dion and the crew took that same energy to the stage, well, the action was the same. So I'm simply saying, man, if this is the only message I get out to the nation, that we have something that is invaluable and we need to use it as that attraction to bring the world to the Bahamas.
And to add to that, right? Junkanoo is a product now. And so
It's a brand.
it's a brand. When we have to use it that way, because the mesmeric sounds of the drums and the cowbells. I mean,
It's
people were
infectious.
just.
Yeah.
I mean, there are thousands of cameras. I'm sure our pictures are all over the world. I met at the last show. I told you I met this lady from California, and she saw my crown and all of that. But I'm talking about the impact of the Junkanoo and the music and the costuming. You know, the beautiful colors of the Bahamas, and so. It just takes you, it just sucks you in. And so I don't see no reason why we can't get to the point where Junkanoo actually is the product and everything else comes underneath that.
Well, just before, I noticed last time you have to jump in because, like I say, you know, on the two anchor ends, you know, I gotta jump in. In
You
addition,
don't do too badly yourself, you know.
no worry about me. I know I time it. But the thing is that we didn't. The big stage presentation that Nehemiah, Wendy, and Dyson, Raffy, and myself performed on along with the band, that was just one performance. We had another performance in what was called the cultural tent, where we had Junkanoo and Vola can elaborate a little more on this, where we showed the people for 3 days how Junkanoo, the costumes are constructed, how the music blends with the costumes. And Eggy Boom was in charge of that area, and Ronald put the whole band and the other 25 members of that troupe. So we had 2 stage performances. We did a cultural performance within the tent, where they had hundreds of people that at least the Junkanoo went around the entire circuit, 2 or 3 times a day for about 2 days. And so, well, I have all the photos of you really in your element doing that, and they showed a few last time. Can you describe a little bit more and then we'll come back later and talk about the stage presentation, but the actual, starting with the Junkanoo and coming into that tent?
Well, actually,
Cultural tent.
What we had on display was a Junkanoo shack experience, where the costumes, how the costumes are made from scratch, and how you paste and all the rest of the decoration and what have you. That was tremendous. But what really took the show to me was when we did the music of Junkanoo way back from back when and right to now, where how the music changed, how it developed, and so on. The era of Junkanoo from I guess about 100 years ago maybe up to now. The slow beats, the fast beats, the way we ring the cowbells, the rhythm of the drums, and the addition of the brass instruments, the voices, the bugles, and the conch shells, and the foghorns, etc. And so that was, to me, I thought that was a really, really good input to demonstrate the music of the Bahamas.
And to broaden the scope of it, as I said, there were other artists from various countries around the world. Africa, Latin America, and other countries, Caribbean. But when the Junkanoo and the rake and scrape and the Bahamian culture hit that arena, there was standing room only outside. They couldn't even get in.
Well, you know,
So that is the impact that I'm telling you about.
I've been with you all for many years talking about this, about the Jazz Festival in New Orleans. But you know, there is something special about this particular trip.
No question.
Yeah, I can sense it. I can sense it in you. You've talked about it over and over the years, but there's something special about this. And I think you've reached a point where the Bahamas now is ready to just bust out into
the question, CB, for me, and I keep coming back to this. Why is it that we have to keep trying to reinvent the wheel, man?
Yes.
We know that this works.
Yes.
This has worked from the 40s, 50s, and 60s
Yes.
when Sir Stafford Sands understood the importance of sending those artists abroad
Who was
and
Stafford?
attracting the people back
right.
to the Bahamas.
But we just have to keep.
the
we
first
just,
Minister of Tourism of the Bahamas.
Yes.
He understood this.
yeah, we just have to keep telling them. Freddie.
But I don't understand why our people in charge don't get the message. It is the easiest way to promote the country.
We have to keep telling them. Now, folks,
Yeah.
we're going to do a little switch out here following the break. There's so much to tell.
Yes.
We've got others who are on this trip and they also have a story to tell.
Yes.
And we want you to stay with us because their story is going to be just as, if not, well, I'm not going to say these are my friends, these just as interesting. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Only love can save us now.